Over the last few years, we've been collecting some pocket change on our travels.
Pocket change? Given the size of these coins, you must have some pretty big pockets.
We're going to be talking about 3 Ontario monuments celebrating our Canadian currency.
First up is the smallest in denomination, but the largest in size, the Big Nickel in Sudbury, Ontario. And this is the one you've most likely heard of or maybe even visited yourself. The Big Nickel started as an idea by Ted Silva, one that would celebrate the mining industry of the area. It was originally proposed as part of a local contest entry, but after being rejected, Ted decided to just undertake the project himself. And the project encompassed more than just the nickel. It was actually a whole numismatic coin park. So there were other coins involved. There was a Canadian $20 gold coin and a penny, as well as an American half-dollar coin and an American penny. But the Big Nickel would be its centerpiece.
This turned out not to be the easiest task. After purchasing land on the hills overlooking the town, Sudbury wouldn't allow road access to his land, and they also wouldn't give him the building permits he needed to build the park. Ted then met with the president of Inco, which is the mining company that owned the adjacent land in the town of Copper Cliff. They struck a deal and leased Ted the land he needed to build a road to his land.
Now, obviously, this was all going to cost a lot of money. Land, having a road built, and the park and the monuments themselves. So to raise money for the project, Silva started a company and began issuing commemorative coins, selling packages of the coins which featured depictions of the proposed monuments. And people really liked collecting coins back in the 60s because he raised enough funds to begin the construction of the Big Nickel. The coin itself is based on the 1951 Canadian nickel, and that year of nickel was picked because it was the 200th anniversary of the chemical isolation of nickel. The back of the coin features King George VI, as that was who was on our coins in 1951, and the front features a nickel refinery with a giant smokestack.
And this was years before the Inco Superstack was built.
Yeah, so this nickel was a bit ahead of its time. The Big Nickel attraction finally opened in 1964. It was built mere feet outside the Sudbury border on the Copper Cliff side to avoid the permits Sudbury was holding him back with. And that's pretty funny considering how ubiquitous the Big Nickel is associated with Sudbury these days.
On to our next coin, now 20 times the worth, but just a fraction of the size. The Big Loonie in Echo Bay, Ontario. This monument is a bit more recent. It was erected in the early 90s. The artist who designed this monument, Robert R. Carmichael, is actually the original designer of the loon image which appears on the Canadian dollar coin. This Big Loonie celebrates both the coin itself and the artist who lived here in Echo Bay until his passing in 2016.
And finally, completing the pocket change tour of Ontario, the giant toonie in Campbellford. The giant coin was built in 2001 and officially, its name is the Giant $2 coin because the Royal Canadian Mint actually put in the paperwork that the town could not refer to the coin as a toonie. This is another monument that celebrates the artist who originally drew the image which appeared on the coin. Brent Townsend, the artist, is a longtime resident of the area.
All right, fun fact time. First, just how big are these coins? Coming in at the smallest is the loonie. We couldn't find an exact measurement for the actual coin, but read the monument has a height of 15 feet. So this is a bit of an educated guess, but it's probably got about an 8-foot diameter.
Next up in terms of size is the giant toonie.
A $2 coin. Sorry, Canadian Mint.
Sorry about that. It's much bigger than the loonie. The giant toonie has an 18-foot diameter. And did you know, too, that the bear on the toonie has a name? Its name is Churchill.
Last, but obviously not least, the Big Nickel has a diameter of 30 feet. And that's about, well, it's over 64 million times the size of an actual Canadian nickel. It's the largest coin in the world. Earlier in this episode, we mentioned that the Big Nickel was built as part of a numismatic coin park. There were 4 other giant coins at the park, but there were no records taken when they were taken down in 1984. So no one knows where they ended up. There may be someone out there with a giant penny in their garage.